meeting of November. And we have a good size agenda, not 8 items on the agenda, not as many as we had before. But we'll see. We always have surprises in terms of how long it lasts, our meetings. The way we like to proceed is the applicant will make a presentation about questions, comments from committee members and then members of the community. And then we take a vote. Our vote is only a recommendation, and it's a recommendation to the full board. It's the first Wednesday of the month, usually in December. And they in turn make a recommendation to the state committee. You don't have the authority to say yes or no, you just make a recommendation. And that's where it goes, and we are on Zoom. I don't have the exact citation, but the New York State Public Meetings Law has been suspended until January 15th, and so that's why we are able to meet on Zoom. So it is an open meeting because we're broadcasting it live, streaming it, and we also have a YouTube channel, and it will be there for.
Bert, you are going in and out. Can you get closer to your speaker?
Find out where the speaker is. It's buried someplace in this.
Now you are on mute.
Why? How that happened? Now can you hear me? No? Yes?
You can
It's
hear
still
you,
sort
you're
of
just a
fuzzy.
little far away. Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to shut up and we'll just continue. And let me introduce myself. I'm Bert Lazarin, co-chair of the VLP, and I'd like all the other members of the committee to introduce themselves.
I'm Frank Holzubiak, the other co-chair.
Committee
Wendy
members.
Gonzalez.
Twee Pham
Wendy
committee
Gonzalez.
member.
Tina Nelson, committee member.
Mike Noble, committee member.
Harry Keenan, committee member.
Rob Walker, committee member.
Christine Berthe. Oh, Theodore, just go first.
Theodore Arenas, committee member.
And Christine Berthe, committee member.
And the only thing I'll add before we get started is,
Frank, hold on. Peggy, did you introduce yourself?
Apologies, Peggy Coe, committee member. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I thought we were done. The only thing I'd add is the items voted on by this committee tonight will be voted on by the full board at its next meeting, which is on December 1st, also on Zoom. And anyone who wants to speak on any of these matters at that meeting can sign up and speak for 2 minutes on these matters or any subject.
Okay, so I'd like to proceed to item number 1 on our agenda. This is 458 9th Avenue, the Wrecking Club. This is an application for change in methods of operation.
Yeah, just to explain what's happening here, as you may recall, the Wrecking Ball came before us, Wrecking Club came before us last month to change their method of operation, and we approved that, and that was approved by the full board. There was evidently some miscommunication between the lawyer and her client or someone on their end, but they actually also wanted to extend their hours to 2 a.m.
Yes.
But
So-
because that wasn't considered by the committee, and because it involved an expansion of hours, Bert and I thought they should come back this month to discuss the hours change. So that's the only thing that's on the table tonight.
Yeah. So I deeply apologize for that. And I am so sorry because I thought that he had the hours until 12 and, and 1. So it's really just to expand it by an hour. That was my error. So I apologize about that.
Okay, Rosa, we're talking about expansion of the hours 3 nights a week. Am I correct?
Yes, Thursday, yes, Thursday,
Friday,
Friday,
Saturday,
yes,
rather than 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
yes.
Thursday, Friday, and
So
Saturday.
originally they were approved until 1.
You're
Rosie,
on
you're on
mute.
mute.
Oh, this is
Was originally supposed to, I'm so sorry, my phone rang. So when I originally came to you last month, it was expanded that extra hour, and that was my error.
May I speak for 1 second? Yeah.
Okay.
I think the last months I suggested that your outdoor open restaurant was not compliant, and you said you were going to fix it. What have you done about that?
So I have spoken to him, and he is working on it. And he believes that he is doing everything that's in compliance, but he is working on it.
I mean, he's not. The thing is still expanding over the bike lane buffer, and nothing has been done. So when you say he is working on it, I don't see that happening at all. And the second thing is there was a question about, the storage and hours as far as putting those wreckable items on the sidewalk. Has he changed any of that?
Okay, so I have spoken to him about that, and he is trying to bring everything inside as quick as possible for whatever is being, breakables and whatever is being delivered.
These are not good answers. They are just like, we're trying and
He really is bringing in everything inside as quick as possible, and everything that is being delivered, of everything that is going to be, broken and was designated as being broken, he is bringing it in as fast as humanly possible.
The only thing I can judge is the open restaurant building, and this is not compliant, and nothing has been done in 1 month. So I'm personally not very happy with that. And I think he should change that until before we give him another hour.
Okay.
Anybody else in the committee?
I'm sorry, just to be super clear, you're asking from 1 to 2, 3 nights a week? That's the change?
Yeah, it's an hour change.
But it's 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday,
Yes.
Friday, Saturday? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other committee members?
Tina.
I do. Hi, sorry, I have to turn volume up. You say in the application, it refers to the sound engineer's report. And frankly, I think a prior application referred to you getting a sound engineer's report. Bottom line is I don't understand what the words "as existing" means.
So as existing means is that he installed the soundproofing as presented to the community board when he first got his license issued. So there is no sound coming out of his place, and everything is buffered, and everything has been installed so that there is no sound emanating from the place because it is an existing establishment.
Tina, we actually asked
Sorry.
Rosa and the applicant to make that change last month, because last month their application said they weren't getting a sound report and people were concerned. But the reason they weren't getting a sound report is they had gotten a sound report when they first opened. So the as existing means they're carrying over the recommendations in the sound report from when they first opened it 4 years ago or so.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And I agree with Christine as to what she said.
I mean, we could ask them to make the changes, and if they have made the changes by the full board, then we're fine, but it's kind of annoying that people tell you they're going to do something and they don't.
I see Wendy and then Rob. Wendy?
Sorry. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it last month. I'm just curious whether we heard from the community at all, any neighbors around any concerns.
We heard from someone who's a public member on another committee about the sidewalk being cluttered with the deliveries, which is why we came up with that stip that they would, use their best efforts to clear the sidewalks as quickly as possible. I think that was the only thing we've heard. This month, we got an email from one community member sort of complaining about all of the late night licenses, including this one. She just thought there were too many 2 a.m. licenses in the district, and this was one of about 3 or 4 she named, but it wasn't otherwise specific to this applicant.
Got it. Okay.
Rob?
Thank you.
I agree with what everyone else has said before with Christine and Tina. Let's hold off and wait until full board meeting. If they can get this stuff done, then by sure, all means.
I guess we did not explain the protocol to the people watching on here, which we probably should. The people you're seeing on screen are the BLP committee members and the applicants. Everyone else is considered an attendee who's only watching. If you want to speak on if you're an attendee and want to speak on any item, just use the raise hand function to raise your hand when that item is called, and you'll be moved into the main meeting and be able to address the committee.
Following what Frank has just said, is there anybody from the community that wants to make a comment on this application?
There's there's one raised hand. Sophia?
Anybody coming in?
Yes, yes.
You're on mute.
Sophia. Hello?
Hi, I am not Sophia, but
you're
Sophia
not.
is my roommate who registered for this. Wanted to say thank you for hosting this forum and thank you for giving us, as community members, a platform to be able to make our voices heard. I just had a concern as a resident of 747 9th Avenue. I live on the 2nd floor right above where Cheese Boat will be, and I will say that during construction, I could hear all of the music that was playing downstairs, as well as noise from outside in the patio. And I'm sort of extremely worried about having a busy restaurant with potentially live music and alcohol that will be open until 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday.
Sorry, excuse me. What item are you addressing?
He's addressing, Frank, he's addressing item number 7. And we're on.
Oh, I am so sorry if this is not the correct time.
So when we call item 7, raise your hand at that point.
Okay, we'll do that. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I'd like to make a motion to say that we approve the application, provided that by the board meeting, they have corrected the issues of their open restaurant.
Yeah, just a friendly amendment, Christine. I think it has to be a little before the board meeting.
Yes. What is that, Nelly? That's 25th or?
Well, 25th.
No, the 22nd.
22nd.
The 22nd, Monday, November 22nd.
And I think it would be helpful just if we could clarify what those issues are.
Yes, the issue is that their restaurant is installed over the buffer of the bike lane. And their restaurant is supposed to be just in the parking lot, in the parking space. It is not supposed to expand over the bike lane. And the reason why is that during the snow, the snow plows cannot go through, and the buffer has been designed to allow the snow plow to go through. So last year we had, the bike lane was unusable for about 1 month. So
can I just interject for a second, please?
Yes.
because he really hasn't been open and operating much. And he really hasn't been using much of anything from the conversations that I had with him.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate to be able to have another conversation with him, because he really, from what he's telling me, he's not using anything on the outside.
No, he's not, but he
So
has built a shelter. He has built an open restaurant, which is there on the outside.
Yeah, Rosa,
So he's
there's a
not
physical-
only it's the wrong size, but he's not using it.
Okay.
There's a physical presence there, Rosa.
Yeah.
Not a question of
And-
use
and-
or not use.
That footprint is wrong. That footprint
Okay.
needs to be smaller.
Okay.
Was there also
Okay.
an issue about deliveries? I
No,
heard?
no. So thank you so much for clarifying that. So this way I can discuss it with him.
Okay.
Right.
Because from what he's telling me, that he's not using anything on the outside. So now that I have a better understanding, I can discuss it with him.
Yeah, using
Yeah.
or not, he has one and it's out there. So
Okay.
Can I let me add something else to that. You know, there's this whole program now in the city that if you have an unused shed out there, they're going to take it down, right?
Mhm.
So the city's taking these things down if they're not being used,
Yeah.
because they give rise to all sorts of unpleasant things, So
Yeah.
just
Okay.
let them
if
know
he
that.
wants to, if
Yeah.
he wants to take it down, that's fine with us.
Okay,
know.
that's fine. But overall, this is a really good operator. That's a really good part of the community.
No question about that. I have no question about that, but that is a real problem.
Was there an
Okay.
issue about deliveries, Christine, Tina? Did I hear an issue about deliveries before?
I can't hear what you're saying, Bert.
I think he's asking if we have issues with the deliveries. So, but I guess no one has seen any problematic ones, but we haven't seen that it's been proved. We just don't have any information. So Rosa, could you just remind him again to keep the sidewalk clear as much as possible?
Which he really tries his very best.
Okay.
To have everything scheduled
And on the shed, make sure he understands it's not just the bike lane that has to be cleared. It's what's
Okay.
called the buffer next to the bike lane as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so you'll let us know, you'll submit some pictures or something by November 22 if you have done this. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Is there a second to Christine's motion?
I think Rob seconded it.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Ted did that too.
Aye.
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 Those are opposed? Present not eligible, abstaining? Okay. Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, Rosa.
Bye.
Item number two is 609 9th Avenue. It's an application for a wine, beer, and cider license.
Hey guys.
Hi,
All right, you can hear me great. Hi, so I'm Jeff Kaplow. I'm the owner and operator of 609 9th Avenue.
Mm-mm.
do you want to make a presentation?
Oh, yes, of course. So I know I'd spoken to Frank and Nellie earlier in the week. And yeah, so we're applying for a beer and wine license. Our hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. We also don't plan to be using the outdoor space, especially in the winter, past about 9 or 9:30. That's when we'll be closing it up on a daily basis. We've been in business now for about 2.5 months. Our outdoor seating has been approved by the landlord, and we've also sent over plans and did the virtual walkthrough of the outside seating. That's, any questions you guys might have, I'd love to answer them.
Yeah. Jeff, so the outside seating is already there, right? It's being used. You're just not serving beer and wine yet.
Yeah, it's already being used for our customers, just no beer or wine service.
All right. I had one question about your stipulation form on page 2. It's at the bottom when we talk about delivery bikes. You say you're going to be using them. You say they'll be clearly marked, but then there's a question, where will delivery bikes be stored during the day when not in use? And all you wrote was no. I guess I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I think that might have been a mistake on our application. We don't have our own delivery service. We use Relay for delivery.
Okay,
So there is no storage of any bikes because orders are picked up from the service as they're ready to be taken away.
okay, so I'm gonna write in use third-party delivery service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from committee members?
Okay.
Tina?
Hi, just two questions. On page 5 out of 9, talking about the outdoor space, that question wasn't answered, but I assume that should be a yes there, given what you just said. And then the only other question on page 2, I was just curious why you said not applicable to will the New York Police, NYPD best practices be followed? And you said not applicable to that one.
Yeah, I think that's also another mistake. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, all best practices are being followed at the location currently and will continue to be.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Christine?
So you were saying you have bikes and you don't need to store them, but when somebody comes back from a run and then goes into the restaurants, they have to put their bikes somewhere, right?
Yeah, Christine, I think maybe I wasn't as clear as I should have been. We don't have any bikes. We use Relay. It's a delivery service. So we have a tablet. When the order is ready, we click ready, order ready for pickup. Relay comes, picks up the food and leaves. So we don't actually have any of our own bikes or any of our own type of delivery equipment. We don't have that type of service offered.
And when that person from Relay is picking up, they leave their bike outside and come inside, or what happens there?
Yeah, so they usually leave their bike outside. There's an area by the sewer. It's kind of I'm not sure how familiar you are with the area, but it's kind of outside of VV Bubble Tea in the corner deli. And there's there's usually a bunch of drivers in that area on the corner. So they're usually about 20 to 30 feet away from the store at all times, and then they just come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm good with that.
Any additional questions? Is there anybody from the community, Nellie, that has their hand raised?
Yes, there's one person. David Sloss. David?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, hi guys. I think I had a pocket raise hand. Didn't mean to have my hand raised for this item.
Okay.
Okay. There's no one else with a raised hand.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Jeff, just to make sure that, so the changes we made is on page 2, we're going to say you're following the NYPD best practices. We're going to say you're using a third-party delivery service. And then on page 5, we're going to make clear that your answers to these outdoor item questions are for open restaurants, roadway seating only, and to change your answer to yes, that you are using some outdoor space.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the current addendums added on.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? President not eligible? Abstaining. Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
We're moving on to the complete full liquor license applications, the major part of our evening tonight. We're starting with number 3, Hudson Yards. 10 Hudson Yards.
Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay Farina from Skeen Law Firm representing Hudson Dining Group LLC. Hudson Dining Group came before the community board a few months ago for a very similar application for a premise located at 30 Hudson Yards. And just for a very quick background, their parent company, Delaware North, is a very well-known national caterer, which currently services the Buffalo Bills Stadium and the new Belmont Arena, which will be home to the Islanders. This particular subsidiary handles corporate catering in Manhattan. This application is for a catering establishment license for use at Kohlberg, Kravis, Roberts & Co. offices at 10 Hudson Yards, which is the same company that they're servicing at 30 Hudson Yards. This license would allow for alcoholic beverage service and food service at planned private catered events for Kohlberg, Kravis, Roberts & Co. Events would include something like initiative launches, employee birthdays and anniversaries, as well as presentations to prospective clients. But no members of the public would be granted entrance to these events, as they are for company employees and their guests only. This location is only seeking hours of service Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. And they are not proposing to have any entertainment, and there won't be any outdoor areas in use. I have with me today Ashley Parrish, who is one of the on-site managers, and we just wanted to open the floor up for questions.
Bert, I don't have anything on this one.
Nothing, no emails received, nothing from the community. Any questions from committee members? And from the community, Nellie, anybody out there?
No one.
Well, thank you for showing up, Ashley and Liberty.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Present not eligible? Absent. Abstain.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Item number 4. This is 202 7th Avenue between 21st and 22nd Street.
Hi, everyone. Donald Bernstein on behalf of the applicant, and I see Felix and Yoko here, my clients. This is an application for a new license. Felix and Yoko are opening up a Japanese and sushi restaurant on 7th Avenue between 21st and 22nd. They have one currently on West 72nd Street that they've run successfully since 2018. This new space has been licensed, as far as I can tell, since at least 2000. And it's about 1,200 square feet. They're going to have 7 tables with 14 seats and a sushi counter and a small bar. The hours are very reasonable. It's from 12 noon till midnight, no later than midnight. And they will have background music only. And that's pretty much the application. And Felix, maybe you just want to say hello to the board and tell them how excited you are to move into the community. You just have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, everyone. This is Yoko right here.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome. Donald, just 2 questions. For your sort of outdoor space, you say you will apply to the DOT. I assume you're talking about open restaurants still,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to make that clear on the relevant page that it's open restaurants only.
Correct.
And for some reason on the page you filled out, there's nothing about no music outside. You'll agree that there'll be no music or amplified sound in any outdoor space?
No music or sound outside.
Okay. And for the committee, the prior applicant here had only slightly shorter hours. They were open till midnight, Thursday to Saturday, which is what this applicant wants. And then they close slightly earlier on other days, either 11 or 11:30. But there's no meaningful difference in the hours with respect to who was there before.
I also have a question about the prior applicant. In terms of their C of O, unless I was misreading it, Donald, their C of O said it was 74. You have down as 50. Has it
So the
changed
C
or-
of O says 50.
Okay,
So that's what it says.
Bert, I expect what happened was they didn't know at the time of the prior application and put down 74 to make clear it. They were under 75.
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
probably,
that might have been just what it was.
that was probably a
Okay.
placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Any committee members have comments? Tina, I see your hand raised. You're on mute, Tina.
Sorry about that. I'm going to ask the same question I did the last time. I was just curious why the question was answered no. Will New York Nightlife Association and NYPD practices be followed? And the answer is no.
Well, it's not a nightlife venue, but last time I looked at the nightlife guidelines, it requires security guards. We're not going to have security guards. Nightlife guidelines require 1 security guard per 75 patrons. Nightlife guidelines are not really for a restaurant. They're really for nightlife venues.
I see. And as well as quite honestly, I'm a newbie. Also, the NYPD practices that would also not apply to your restaurant.
Not to a restaurant, as far as I know. I don't know that I'm familiar with those. I know the nightlife guidelines.
Okay, and just for one clarification, I thought from the diagrams, there is a sidewalk cafe. Am I reading the diagram wrong?
There will be that we will apply to the Department of Transportation for under the Open Restaurants Program, which is a temporary program.
And under that, if there is a sidewalk cafe, I couldn't tell from the diagram if there was an allowance for, I guess, 8 feet of clearance.
Yeah, they'll have to be. Whatever the DOT regulations are, they're going to have to comply with. And if they have to reduce their seating to comply with that, we obviously will.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pretty wide sidewalk over there.
The prior occupant had a sidewalk cafe, approved in the old DCA.
Yeah, that's actually the furniture and the dividers you see in the photo. It's from the prior operator, not the applicant.
Right. Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Nellie?
No one from the community.
Like to make a motion?
Yeah, second.
You didn't even hear his motion yet, Christine. What was your motion, Rob?
Motion that we carry out the suggested.
So we had, Frank, you had some notes about music.
Yeah, there were just 2 changes. One, making clear on page 6 that this was open restaurants only, and then an additional stip that there'll be no music or amplified sound in any outdoor space.
Right.
Okay, so we understand the resolution now. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstaining? Present not eligible.
Bert, I was in favor. I may have raised my hand late.
Okay. Nellie, catch you.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
good night. Have a
Good
good
luck.
night.
Good night. On to number 5, 201 8th Avenue. Also, this is between 20th and 21st Street.
Yes. Good evening, members. Good to see everyone again. My name is Maston Sansom. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Old City Cheesesteaks and Brew. I'm joined here by the owner, Evan Stein, as well as the COO, Justine Jaskier. This, as you know, is an application for a full liquor license. The premises is located at 201 8th Ave. The establishment would not feature, would feature recorded background music only. The hours that we're looking for are 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. weekdays and 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. on the weekends. There's a maximum capacity of 98. There are 2 floors, and the capacity, of course, is broken up between those floors. This establishment or this location was had a previous establishment there that also served liquor. There's also a security plan that will be included. All servers and bartenders will be tips trained. IDs will be checked. And importantly, there is no outdoor space.
Okay. Maston, does that include open? You're not doing open restaurants even?
Yeah, that is a question, Evan, that I'd like to send your way. I know there was obviously no permanent outdoor space, but I suspect that in the event something happens, particularly if capacity ends up becoming limited due to COVID concerns or something similar, that in order to be able to stay in business, I think use of the emergency type of or temporary, I should say, street accommodations would be very helpful.
Okay, so you're not Evan or Maston, so you're not seeking it now, right? Okay, because as of July of this year, you now have to give the community board notice if you want to be under the open restaurants program. So just keep that in mind. If you change your mind later on, there's a separate form on the SLA website you have to fill out and submit to the community board.
Got it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, I may be the only one here who is ignorant, but what's the acronym TIPS? What does that stand for? Or if you don't know the acronym, what actually does it teach people?
It's, proper service to recognize, when people have had too much, how to deal with people. I think when you have to say, no, you can't have any more. And I think to try and spot fake IDs, things like that. It's, Tips Trained is a certified program, I believe, by New York State.
Okay, thank you. Christine?
So everything is so confusing. So let's say if Frank, if they want to have an open dining in the street or on the sidewalk, they do not have to come back to us. Is that true?
They have to give us notice. What we have at the end of the agenda tonight is discussing what we want, how we want to handle these situations where we get notice just for open dining.
Okay, because otherwise I would say I would like the people to agree to the, outdoor cafe.
I think
guideline generally, and then, if they have one, and then, and adding the no music, and then at least we know that that's their intention.
Right. Well, or we could do, one of the things we're going to discuss later in the agenda is whether we want to do what CB3 is doing, which is have the applicant certify some basic questions like capacity, no music, and things like that. And if they answer all those, that they will abide by all those, not have them come back to the committee, but do it administratively.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting, something along those lines.
We're going to discuss that at the end of the meeting, but I expect that's where we're headed. I expect that's where we're heading.
But Community Board 3 has
okay.
Language. That's 6 or 7 items.
But is Christine's question that we're going to attach that to this application as well, even though we haven't yet discussed it fully?
No, we're not going to do anything, but if they decide later on they want open restaurants, they'll give us notice. And if this procedure gets approved, we will then ask them to certify answers to these questions. And if it's acceptable, they won't have to come to the meeting, but Nellie will just approve it administratively.
Okay.
So it's sort of a streamlined thing for open restaurants.
Okay.
Any additional committee people?
Yeah, I have something. The second floor has got windows in it. And I know during the summertime and the springtime, it used to be the dish. They used to have the windows open, but they really didn't have any music up there, so you couldn't hear. Can we get a guarantee from the new operator that they won't? Because on the right and left side, there's residential, less than like 2-3 feet away. You've got windows on both sides that are residential for that second floor. So if they can give us a guarantee that they won't keep that window open if there's going to be any background music.
Right. Well, Maston, you've agreed to our usual step that if you have music or amplified sound, you got to close all the windows and French doors and so forth. Right? So you're
now, let's see. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, I'm sorry for the pause there. I thought that that it was allowed during certain hours. But
it's two
actually,
steps. Yeah, it's 2 steps. They have to be closed, period, by 10 and 11. But if you have music or amplified sound inside at any time, they have to be closed. And you agreed to both on the STIP form.
Yep.
Carrie. And then Cameron.
Just a quick question of curiosity. What were the hours of the dish? Were they the same?
Was 2 o'clock.
Well, we don't have STIPs. I guess it predated that. So if I had to guess, I'd say it was 4 on their license, although they would never open that late.
And you know, we're asking for 2 and 3. Of course, if business doesn't, you know, warrant, they certainly would close earlier.
Thank you.
Candace?
I have a question about there's one of the questions, the canopy extending over the sidewalk. You said you're undecided. Is there not a canopy? There's some kind of
the dish has a canopy. I mean, we're definitely going to remove it. As far as installing a new canopy, I haven't made that decision. We likely won't do that, but I just don't know yet.
Okay, Evan, we often have terminology issues on this.
Okay.
Do you mean an awning that simply comes off the front of the building? Or do you mean a canopy which has those poles on the?
No. And I mean, I think we're talking about an awning.
Okay, so you're not going to have a canopy that most you'd have an awning.
Definitely no canopy, yeah.
Okay, so we'll change that answer to no.
Okay. Nellie, do we have anybody from the community?
No, no one.
Thanks. Do I hear a motion? You want to summarize anything, Frank?
No, you know, the only change is that we're changing the canopy answer on page 4 from undecided to no. And we're going with this doesn't cover any kind of outdoor space, nothing permanent, and also nothing with open restaurants.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, move to adopt with the stated changes.
Second.
Please.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
members.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6, 405 West 51st Street. Over a drink.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
My name is James. This is Jason.
Hi, Jason, man.
And we are applying for a full liquor license for 405 West 51st Street. Previously, it was Posh. we are not associated with Bosch in any shape or form. I always like to put that out there because we are learning a lot about that previous owner's practices, and that is not us. So I just want to put that out there very clearly. I'll also put out there too, TIPS stands for Training Intervention Procedures. Jason and I are certified in TIPS, as well as our staff, bartenders, managers, waiters, everyone associated dealing directly with the customer will have the TIPS program. It's a national program, and it's just really, it gives you insight to know when someone's been served too much, and procedures to handle when somebody's been served too much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The space we're looking to create it's a bar tavern, kind of like a neighborhood tavern pub. We will have food. Food will be served the entire time we're open. So anytime alcohol is being served, food will also be available as well. No amplified music. It's more of a jukebox kind of sound. Very low key. It's kind of like a very like, it's a pub. It's not really a dance club. It's no dancing. There's no DJs. There's none of that stuff that was previously there from what we're understanding. The space is fairly small, so there's not a lot of tables. It's being completely gutted and remodeled inside. So we're basing everything on the blueprints of what we have at the moment. But the tables, we should have about around 11 tables. Could be 12, could be 10. It's just depending on the spacing. The seating is about 72, 74. Max, yeah. That includes the bar seats as well as the table seats and the bar rail seats. And if, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Just to give you a little history about us, we have been together partners in business for over 25 years. We have Ben & Jerry's ice cream in North Carolina as well as Manhattan. We have real estate leases at landmark locations at Rockefeller Center, Times Square. Give you an example, Rockefeller Center, we've been over there for 20 years. Times Square, we've been there for 10. Some of our other operations in North Carolina, we've been over there for 25 years. And we've fairly good tenants. I think we could give you a lot of recommendations if you ever needed them from our landlords. One of the things we are doing with 405, I don't know if you're familiar with the building itself, but it's a fairly small building. It's 3 stories with 2 apartments above. The landlord lives in the first floor above us, which we're finding out was important, that the community would like to know that, so that the landlord is there. It's not a rented tenant. And then I believe there's one more tenant on the 3rd floor. The building is, it needs a lot of work. So Jason and I have committed to, we don't want our business to be on that 1st floor with the building in the shape it is. So we've committed to spend a little bit more than anticipated. We're actually getting the building painted. We're replacing the cellar door that's on the front. We're replacing, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it does have a canopy. All that's being resurfaced, as well as the tile work on the front entryways. So we want to be in a nice block with a nice building. So I feel like that extra step is important for our business. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Our attorney, unfortunately, had eye surgery a month ago, so she wasn't able to make it tonight, but she had a follow-up visit.
Well, we'd always rather have you, the applicant, here if we had to choose. Thank you for being here. Just had a couple of questions about your form. On page 2, you didn't circle any kind of music, but it sounds like you're going to have background music or background in a jukebox.
It's a jukebox type system where people can choose music from their phone or from a screen at where the jukebox is, and it's just kind of like amplified through a few speakers, but it's not a sound system.
Okay, so we'll call it background and jukebox for purposes of
absolutely. Yep.
And then on pages 4 and 5, the 2 pages about outdoor space, you answered one question differently on the 2 pages, which is basically saying, will you not allow people to stand? Will there only be seated service in the in any outdoor space? And once you said yes, and the other time you said no, I assume you mean yes, that you're not going to allow people to stand.
They won't be standing. No, it'll be
standing.
Seating only. And we met with the Block Alliance two weeks ago, and then we had a follow-up virtual tour. So again, because it's being built, like right now, it's really just being demolished. So we're basing everything on plans. We're not applying for any license for outdoor. We're just anticipating through the open restaurant, we might need that to get started, but it's only going to be sit-down service. There will be no standing, and we'll follow all the guidelines.
Okay.
Approach.
You answered all the questions about outdoor space. So I assume you'd like us to consider open restaurants tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Okay. All right. So a few things from the community. First of all, thank you for postponing a month so you could meet with the 4953 Block Alliance. We find that moves things along.
Sure.
Steve Belita had sent us an email, but I see he raised his hand to speak. So I'll let him present his position directly for 4953. And then in a hell freezing over moment, Ted, you'll appreciate this. Community member Anita McDonough on West 56 said, please consider this email to be my support for Over a Drink. I saw that presentation at the Block Association. These owners are awesome and will be an asset to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you've been around here a long time, you know quite how rare affirmative support from Ms. McDonough is. And then, as I mentioned before, we have another community member that was just objecting to all these 2 a.m. closings, and this establishment is one on the list.
Sure.
Okay. All right. And to the extent you are going to use outdoor space, open restaurants, there'll be no music or amplified sound, right? In the outdoor space?
No.
Okay,
And
so I'm
we-
going to add a stipulation to that effect too.
Sure. And we're actually also, just because we're finding out real time basically about Posh and their previous history, we plan on soundproofing beyond belief everywhere, just to be extremely cautious. We don't need it, but we've definitely asked our architects to go back and say soundproof
and relook at
in
things.
the interior, but if we do anything on the outside, we also want that also to be soundproof.
What you really need to do is have some kind of device that eliminates from the community's memory Posh.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
If I could find what that is, I would
wish,
do it.
yeah, I wish we could do it.
Yeah.
But no matter what you're doing, everyone is measuring you against what was there.
Yeah.
Right. Which is
Christine, your hand is raised.
Well, Carrie went first and Tina went first, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carrie, Tina, and Christine.
Yeah, just a quick question, and I apologize if I missed it on the application. You have a little space right out front that's neither sidewalk nor street. Are you planning on having any outside tables or service there?
No. It's literally
So that's
just
like-
the entryway.
It's just an entryway.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We're actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't know if you see the little patio, I guess you can call it there. We actually plan on putting planters and flowers all out there on both sides.
I'm sure that will be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tina, Christine, and I see Ted has his hand up.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just following up on what Frank was asking about on the same page where it says, will there be amplified music? As per the law, the answer that was given was no. Shouldn't that be a yes? This is under the outdoor space. Frank,
Can you read the question to us?
Yeah,
Sorry.
will there be no amplified music as per the law? So
For
if
the
you say-
Oh, will there be no outdoor?
Yeah.
So yes,
Oh.
I guess it should be yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, so I have a question about the building design. You have listed French doors, garage doors, windows that can open, and you said NA, which looks like nobody can get in your place.
There's there's a standard door in the front,
That
normal
swings.
size that swings into the interior.
So it's a normal door.
It's a normal door.
It does
And
have,
there are no windows. The windows cannot open.
as of right now, they're broken, but they're supposed to be like both doors open in like this, but we're only using the one as a door. Does that make sense?
I was talking about windows.
No windows.
No windows.
There are
No
no,
windows.
they're solid
Okay.
glass.
Solid
panes.
glass.
So that's one thing. And the second thing is that one of the problem with Posh was really the overflowing of people on the sidewalk and the noise for all the people in the street. So my question to you is, what are you going to do about that, especially when you get to be really late, you know,
Right.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock? What's your protocol there?
Right. So I believe our plan, basically, our demographic, I think, is completely different from what Posh was attracting prior. Like I said, and again, I've never went to Posh ever, so can't tell you what it's like inside, but from what we understand and what we're hearing from our attorney and from the community is that it was like a dance club, very young crowd. I think they had some issues with some drugs and a lot of things that, happened when they went into the street, we heard from a few neighbors, because we did meet a few neighbors, and I've spoken to them over the process, of doing this license. And they had a lot of overflow into the streets. We will not have that, nor will we stand for it. I mean, we're going to have a doorman that's going to be at the door, of course, checking
Hired
IDs,
security.
hired security. That won't allow that to occur. So, I mean, we don't anticipate having any issues like that. But if it did happen, I 100% tell you, Jason and I would be on it as quick as possible and make sure that we resolved it with the community in any way.
Okay.
We don't anticipate having that issue, but if it does happen, we will address it, I promise you.
Got it.
Ted, Ted is next, and then Mike.
I had a couple questions. The outdoor seating diagram that you had, how many tables and chairs is it gonna have?
A good question. So we anticipate, because again, it's just the diagram. We anticipate probably 4, maybe 5. It just depends on if we're doing 4 seats, 2 seats, or some tables with 4, then some with 2. But we're probably looking at about 4 tables, probably 2 seats, and then a 4-4-4.
Okay, because the outside porch, I think they used, Posh was using late into the night, and that was a lot of the issue that they were having. I've been to that place many times. I know it's small. Looking at your, how many people you plan on having there, I don't think you're gonna get 90 people in that space. I think it's
No. I think the license applies is 72 or 74.
Yeah, 74 or less typically, and I saw in the application that you had 92 overall people. I just don't think that's gonna.
That's an error.
That should be corrected.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I just wanted to ask you is like, what kind of food would you be serving? So I didn't see a menu. And
there's a menu we could be happy to get it to if you haven't seen it, but it's shareable, what we refer to as shareable food. So Jason and I have a third partner. Her name is Lori. Her daughter works for Martha Stewart, so she actually created our menu for us. So it's kind of like it's a nice menu, but it's a collective of all different types of foods, but they're shareable type foods. So it's more like you can pull up the menu and we can look at some of them, but it's everything from chicken tacos to mini pizzas to dips. So we have I'm just going to pull up some of these. You can see there's potato skins, there's mozzarella sticks, there's nachos, there's chicken fingers, there's spring rolls, there's wings. So it's that type of food.
It's definitely shareable, because the intent of the place is for you to either go by yourself and meet a friend, or go with a friend and share food together and share an experience together.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Right. Just to pin down something that Ted asked about. So on the form where there's a question, maximum number of people occupying the premises, you have 92 on the first floor. Are you saying number's too high?
I believe it's too high only because the liquor license is going to only allow 74.
Allows like 74.
So I don't believe it should say 90. I mean,
well, actually, then these numbers are all messed up because you say you're going to have 74 seats at 11 tables, and then 18 seats at a bar.
That's including the bar seats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all.
So can you, I don't want to do this without your attorney. Can you get us accurate numbers for this page 2 on the form by?
Absolutely.
Let me just start there.
Yeah.
Do you know, is there a number, is there a question number for that one specifically?
No, it's on the, sort of, there's a chart on page 2. It just has inside numbers and has tables, chairs.
Got it.
Okay.
And so forth. So just send us those updated numbers by November 22.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's page 2. Right?
Page 2, yeah.
Page 2, sort of a third of the way down on the page.
Thank you.
It's under the section called occupancy.
Occupancy, okay.
Mike, and then Tweet.
Yeah, I've just got a question I'm curious about. With all these establishments that you fellows own, how much time do you expect to spend at this one?
We spend a lot of time in all of our business because of the proximity of where they're located. Right now we go to every store we own every single day, but we also surround ourselves with a fantastic team of managers, assistant managers. Just to give you an idea, we don't have a manager in our store that hasn't worked with us for over 10 years. We don't have a lot of turnover with staff. They're really, we plan to have really good managers as well here as well. But we do spend time every day in our stores. There's 2 of us, so we kind of like divide the day, and I'll start one place, Jason will start somewhere else, and we kind of just revisit the stores over and over. So there's a lot of touch by us in every location.
Is it fair to ask you what your favorite one is? Is that like, what's your favorite child? Who's your favorite child?
We can maybe tell you our favorite employee.
I love Rockefeller Center only because we've been there for over 20 years. So it's just an iconic, place. But Times Square, I hate going to Times Square. I hate leaving Times Square, but I enjoy being in the shop.
Well, I worked at Rock Center too, and I must tell you, those are very good memories. It's a nice place, Yeah. Okay, really. Thank you. Thanks.
Wait.
Thanks, Bert. Oh, sorry. I was going to say we are very hands-on owners, like James said. You'll see us in the store, in the Ben and Jerry stores even. You'll see us scooping ice cream, emptying garbage cans, doing things like that because.
Okay, so my question relates to being hands-on. In terms of, I think it's page 3 of 9. I'm usually used to seeing a separate phone number or cell number. This one says the business phone will be used for complaints and the ownership will address all complaints directly. So, I mean, I'm imagining, a 4 a.m., 2 a.m. closing and, they just leave messages like, for complaints, press 1. Is that how it works? Or they will get someone at the bar at the time?
The bar will have its own phone, but we'll also have, just to give an example, how we do it with our current businesses. On our websites, if you go to any of our websites, there's a, make a comment and it will go directly to us. So there'll be both, I'm sure we're going to do the exact same setup as we do there. So there'll be an online presence for any comments and compliments, as well as the phone. I just don't personally want to give out my cell number to file complaints. If there is a complaint filed, rest assured we will follow up and you will then have my email and my phone number. But I just feel publishing it out like that, that's something I'm not comfortable with.
I think Twee's raising a different issue, which is the music is really loud and can be heard, across the street at 2 a.m.
Absolutely.
Who do you call? Just putting a complaint on the website is not gonna.
You would call the bar directly.
And there would be a manager on duty.
Will that be answered? Will the bar phone be answered by a live person whenever the bar is open?
We anticipate it. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, can we stipulate to that?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. A manager is going to be on duty at all times.
And we'll answer the phone.
And we'll answer the phone. Yes.
My second and last question for this particular one is the next page. Speaking of the food that you were describing, it says kitchen equipment will be used and will not require an exhaust system. So none of these things are cooked or fried in a way that requires exhaust?
Nope, it's all convection oven.
Convection oven.
Okay.
And that's how we have a lot of experience with that. So in our current businesses, that's what we use for all of our cookies and brownies waffles. So it's a non-vented system. The place does have a ventilation,
venting in it, yeah.
but we don't anticipate using
Don't
it
wanna
in
use
any shape or form.
Thank you.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So you don't want to give your cell phone number, but is there an office number that could be forwarded to your cell phone that we could have? Because in this neighborhood, we have been very intent on getting the owners in touch with anybody who has a problem. So could you set up one of the phone so that it forwards to your cell phone?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too, I guess I have no problem with anyone on this board having my direct phone number.
No, we're talking about the people who can't sleep,
Right.
nobody on this board. We're talking about people who cannot sleep.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, we can make that happen. I don't see why that.
Yeah, so I'd like to specify that there will be a phone number which will go to, forward to the cell phone. So
Sure.
that people can really get in touch with you right away. Because our experience with the managers is that sometimes they get caught into the day and, this is more difficult for them to say, okay, turn off the music. They can't do that.
Well, so I guess we're asking to do two different things. So Christine, rather than saying they'll have the business phone will be answered by a live employee, you would have them stipulate that there'd be, they'll set up a phone number that will be forwarded to one of the owners.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're okay with that, guys?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see an issue with it, really.
Yeah.
But having that doesn't preclude the other.
Exactly.
No, but this one for sure is more efficient.
Yeah.
One doesn't preclude the other. Okay.
Okay.
So people do have the opportunity to call the bar directly and saying, 2 o'clock, I can't sleep, shut the thing down, or whatever they want to say. Any other comments from committee members, questions?
Yeah, I just had a question, but it's more for just, I think, my own edification. On the application just noted that the 200-foot rule was applicable, although if you read in the exhibit, it looks like it may not be fully applicable because it's like the office, I think, of a church versus like the actual church itself. But like, how does that work in a normal situation? If it's just kind of one of the only times I think I've seen the 200-foot rule that's applicable. Like, what do we reevaluate it, or is it grandfather? Like, how does that all work?
Let me answer that, but then I'm glad you raised that, Peggy, because I had a question about exactly what your position is on the 200-foot rule. But Peggy, ordinarily, the 200-foot rule is very technical, but it basically says the front door of an establishment cannot be less than 200 feet from the front door, from the main door of any church or school that is operating as a full-time church or school. And they also have to be on the same street. So it can't be around the corner, and it's not as the crow flies. Basically has to be two things that are, almost sort of like, fewer than a dozen buildings between each other. And then there are, there's a lot of litigation over what it means to be used full-time as a church or school, how you measure, whether there has to be door handles on the doors, all sorts of things. But to the applicant, so yeah, your answers or your attorney's answers on the 200-foot rule were a little confusing. Are you saying that this office or this space that is within 200 feet is not a full-time church? Is that your position?
From what we understand, the actual that's the office of the church, and the church actually operates, and I think it's on the
west side,
61st or something like that. The actual physical church where they're having services is at the church on 61st. I might be off a block, but what we understand and what we've been told is that is just like the administrative office
for the church.
Well, what kind of building is that office in? I mean, does it occupy its own building, or is it in a building with
No,
other?
I believe it's residential above.
It's up below, I think.
And then they're down like a few steps down, and their door is they're across the street closer to 10th, a little bit further, you know, not all the way down, but there you go down like 3 or 4 steps, and then there's a door there. So I guess it's a basement office. And what I believe is,
It's not, is it across the street from you or on the same sidewalk?
Across the street.
So I think across the street right away disqualifies the 200 feet rule, because I think the 200 feet is on the same sidewalk, right?
No, as long as it's on the same street. You
Oh,
can go
okay,
across
all
the
right.
street.
I'm corrected.
Yeah, you can go across the street.
And we went there a few times, just to kind of like, because when we were posting signs and, you know, then when we were checking everything for the licenses, they sent us like, is this place still in business? Is this place? And we went there quite a few times, and we've knocked and no one's ever been there. So we could verify, like, is this just an administrative office?
Right.
We've yet to ever speak with anyone there.
Okay, could you also ask your attorney to clarify then your answer on page 1 of the form, the second from the bottom, is the 200-foot rule applicable? Because your answer is yes. And
but it's not.
That would be an automatic disqualifier if it were true.
Oh, okay.
Oh, got it.
Got you. Yes, that's correct. That needs to be corrected.
So I'm going to make it no. I think the way it was answered was this building is within 200 feet, but you don't believe that building triggers the 200-foot rule.
Okay.
Got it. And you said that was page 2, correct?
Having read the exhibit, I think that's
page
what.
1.
Page 1.
Thank you.
Page 1 on the bottom.
Page 1, 2 questions from the bottom.
It should say no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nellie?
Oh, wait, we need the public.
Yeah, I know Steve had his hand up.
That's where I am right now. Nellie, do we have anybody from the public?
Yes, Steve.
Yeoman. Okay.
Steve Belita, you can speak now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Just to let you know, the applicants, Jason and James, came before our block association. They were very well received. We told them about our problems with Posh, with everybody hanging out in front in that little area in front that allows people to be outside. They said they wouldn't use that. They wouldn't use the backyard, which was never used before, but it was used illegally at times by Posh. They really worked with the community, and as I said, they were well received. And that's great, because we had huge problems with people hanging out on the sidewalks, causing problems, neighbors being upset with the yelling and the fighting. And they said they have they won't put up with that. So we think they're good applicants, and we think they'll be good for the neighborhood. On another note, if I can speak to this real quickly, and you can stop me if I can't, Omakase, who you approved earlier this year, put up a 16-foot storm enclosure. I called them the day, like 3 days ago when I saw it, and that day they took it down and said they were sorry and made it a little small one. I know Christine would want to hear that, so that's why I'm telling you right now.
Thank you. Make my day.
I got to say that I think James and Jason are these kind of applicants and proprietors that I was so surprised that Omakase just said, we're really sorry. And they were there that day deconstructing it and making it just for the door width. So I just wanted to put that out to you, because we hear a lot of bad stories, but there's also a lot of good stories. And like I said, we had a lot of problems with Posh. I don't think we're going to have that with Jason and James.
Thank you.
It's like we're in some alternative universe tonight. Storm and Close being made smaller. Anita is supporting liquor license.
This is post COVID. Everybody's changing.
Steve, just one question. I know there was a little confusion over whether these guys were going to use outdoor space. It sounds like what they're doing is there's nothing permanent. They may want to use open restaurants, but if they do, they've sort of agreed to all of our standard, method of operation questions. So
that space exists right now.
Yeah.
The open space.
Yeah. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. As long as they, that's just people sitting and like they said, it's a tavern-esque type of place. We don't foresee the people that are out in the street yelling and causing problems. They seem like they want to run a good neighborhood place that works with the community. So that's what we're seeing in them.
And they've agreed that the outdoor space will only be open till 10 and 11 weekdays, weeknights.
Yeah, they really reassured everyone. There were no complaints from our meeting. Everybody felt that they were sincere, and we welcomed them to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Right, let me summarize all this,
Frank, first.
because there's a lot. And the applicant, just listen to all this, and some of these you're gonna have to confirm with your lawyer.
Sure.
So on page 1, we're changing the answer, is the 200-foot rule applicable? We're changing that from yes to no, but you're gonna confirm that to make sure that's really your position. On page 2, for music, we're circling background and jukebox. On pages 5 and 6, which are the 2 pages about outdoor space, we're making clear it's only open restaurants only. Then we're changing the answers about music. Will there be no amplified music? We're saying yes, there will be no amplified music. And will you not allow? Will service be only to seated patrons outdoors? And you've said yes to both of those. And then there's some additional steps. There will be no music or amplified sound in any outdoor space. Applicant will submit revised numbers for capacity, seats and tables to MCB4 by November 22. Those are the numbers on page 2 under occupancy. Establishment phone will be answered by a live employee during all hours that the establishment is open. An applicant will set up a phone number for community complaints that will be forwarded to one of the owners.
I'm just writing that last one down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Phone answered at all times.
Yeah.
So we have a resolution?
You're okay? You're okay with all of those?
We are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion.
Christine already
to
made a
approve.
motion. I second it.
Oh, yeah, second,
Terry
third.
got there also. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Welcome.
Abstaining, present not eligible. Okay. Good luck, guys.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
We look forward to working with you all.
Absolutely.
Good luck. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
2 more items on the agenda. We're up to number 7, 747 9th Avenue, Cheese Boat. The applicant is here, is the lawyer here?
Yep, right here.
Maxwell.
Shall I begin?
Go ahead.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Dorn. I know many of you. I'm with Pizetsky and Bookman. With me is Shalva, who is the owner and operator of Cheese Boat. I hope we can continue this alternate universe tonight where perhaps we're in and out in 30 seconds with no questions, but who knows if that'll actually happen. But Shalva is the owner and operator of Cheese Boat, which is a family-owned and operated Georgian restaurant. They already have one place over in Williamsburg, which serves authentic Georgian cuisine, famous for their cheese boats, which is a stuffed cheesy bread, if you will. It's very delicious. Shalva is simply looking to take over the space that was previously Uncle Nick's, a Greek restaurant that's been at 747 9th Ave for over 20 years. Shalva's hours are relatively reasonable in our opinion. He's going to be open at 11 a.m. 7 days a week and closing at midnight Sunday to Wednesday, 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. I do want to stress that the 2 a.m. closing hours and the midnight closing hours during the week are for the inside portion only. Outdoors, there is both a backyard, and Shalva will be applying for the open restaurant seating in front, and all the outdoor dining, both back and front, will be closed at 10 at the absolute latest. So I know there were some concerns about the outdoor space, but I just wanted to stress that 10 p.m. will be the closing for all outdoor seating. The last thing I wanted to mention before I turn it over to you guys is the outreach that Shalva did. We're very proud of the outreach that he did. He spent over 15 hours standing outside speaking to local residents. He received over 50 petition signatures from people in the building and in the buildings adjacent to and down the block from him. And most importantly, he spoke individually with 7 tenants in the building itself. There are only 12 units, so it's a big majority or a big portion of the residents in the building. And they each provided, all 7 of them provided individualized support letters for this application, which I hope you guys received. You should have received it. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to you guys. I know there will be some questions that we are, of course, happy to answer.
Yeah. So first, Phil, on your form, you had the Sunday closing hour as 2 a.m. I take it that should be midnight?
That's a typo, yes. It's Sunday. Okay. Sunday to Wednesday is midnight, and right. Thursday through Saturday.
Were the letters and petitions attached to the STIP form, or
they were sent this morning.
Okay, so I don't think, unfortunately, when they come in that late, I don't think we've seen them.
I sent them to Nellie.
Yeah, well, Nellie's on here, but Nellie, did you get them, or because we were talking all day?
Let me take a look. I don't remember seeing an email.
Okay, and Phil, just to get the issue out that's bothering me, you say you did all this outreach, but in response to the outreach, the 4953 Block Association told you several times that they'd like you to adjourn a month and come to their meeting, particularly to discuss the outdoor space, because even though it had been previously used, you have no idea if there are different people living there or if there are people who had been bothered by the outdoor space and never mentioned it, but would like the opportunity to discuss it. Steve also, in an email to us, said he thought a 12 a.m. closing every day might be more appropriate. And then he had some question about there's some sort of alcove that he heard you might be using inside. I don't even know what that is.
I will let Shalva speak to the alcove because I'm unfamiliar with the space specifically. But as far as the outreach and the Block Association question goes, we of course hear Steve's concerns, and we have made several efforts to meet with Steve. We actually reached out with him over 2 weeks ago to meet with him. But we felt that we're of the position that meeting with block associations is helpful in lieu of meeting with tenants in the building who stand to be impacted most by this application and by the outdoor space. And the fact that we were able to get individualized support, which I wish you guys were received, and I hope Nellie can find, from 7 units of the 12 in the building, we found that support was sufficient to go ahead with this. And then in the interim, as we move forward, we would still love to meet with Steve and hear his concerns.
Yeah. Phil, so if you're talking about indoor space and who's going to be bothered, the key people are the people upstairs in the building. When you start using rear yards, when you have this donut effect, there's a possibility of bothering people in, perhaps dozens of buildings, depending on how the rear yards are configured. So one of the real advantages of meeting with the Block Association is, they reach out, they have a mailing list that reaches out to a lot of people, and they can sort of get the word out to people beyond your building. And if you were listening to the one before this, that applicant agreed to adjourn a month and, worked out a lot of issues in a very troubled space and ended up getting strong support from the community. So, I guess I'm just pointing out that, the way that played out very favorably, I would say, to an applicant that was moving into a difficult location.
Right. I certainly hear what you have to say, Frank, and we if need be, we are of course amenable to meeting with Steve and whoever else might want to meet with us.
I just wanted to get that out. Let's hear from the committee, and I see Steve and another community member have raised their hands, so we'll hear from them directly in appropriate
I want
time.
to say that, and I think I saw the space, and the issue for me is not who was here before. You have a patio in the back. And I don't care if it's been used before. You want to use it? I'd like to know what the people around it. Not the
I'm
people
having a little trouble hearing you, Bert.
Okay, I'm interested in hearing from the people around the patio. Yes, it's important to hear from the people directly above the restaurant in the same building, but I also am interested to hear about what the people behind and around facing the patio have to say. Because that's a different kind of impact than living above or living 2 floors above. And I think that's important, and that is something that Frank just said, that the block associations do have a wider constituency than just the
Good.
anyone on the committee wants to say anything?
Just 2 things. Phil, Nellie, unfortunately, your email went into spam. So Nellie found it and just sent it to me. So I'll confirm that it, reflects what you said.
Nellie, we talk all the time. I can't believe I'm going into spam.
I'm sorry. I don't know why that happens. Sometimes some people just go in. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And before we get to the other committee, can the applicant tell us about, your client tell us about this alcove, whatever it is?
Hi guys, it's great to meet you.
Welcome.
So the alcove, I think the alcove, I put it wrong. So there is not an alcove. There's basically like there's 2 doors going inside of the restaurant. So one door, it has like a smaller, it's kind of like a coat hanger place. It's not an alcove per se. Previous Uncle Nick had like a board there with lunch specials. That's all it is. I'm not sure like what alcove part is.
I'm not sure I understand. So it's inside the restaurant?
Yes.
So you go in the door, so it's like a double door situation, is that it?
Yeah, so there's 2 doors going inside of the restaurant. One goes straight into the dining hall, and the other one has like a small room which has like a specials and everything.
Okay, and what are you using the small room for?
I was thinking of just taking that off and like, just having just taking the walls down because it's not necessary. But there might be like a good cold place, just we might use that door when it's cold, so the cold cannot get inside. So we're thinking about it.
Okay,
like a vestibule.
It's part of the indoor space, and it's always going to be enclosed. Okay,
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I see Christine, Tina, at least 2 hands up right now. Christine and Tina.
Yes, hello, Phil. And Shalva. I am very concerned about the backyard. I think we have had many issues with backyard and on 9th Avenue, and a lot of tenants being unhappy and being, having their life destroyed, even if people in the backyard are fairly quiet. Just the noise of, the knives and the cutlery on the plates, etc., just does bother people which are just around. And so I would recommend that you do not use the backyard by respect to your neighbors.
Thank you, Christine. I just want to say that as far as backyards go, I feel like this is probably as good of an outdoor space in the eyes of residents as there could be. It's 10 p.m. closing, no music outside, previously used and licensed space. This is really what you guys ask for when you say, you know, mirror what the prior tenants had, and this space was already used as an outdoor.
Well, Phil, we don't know how it was used. We don't know how many hours it was used. We don't know if it was used every day. We don't know that. So yes, there was a backyard. Yes, maybe it was licensed. We don't know the real use of it. So I think it's not, you know, constructive to compare that, nor you're not hearing me, which is that, you know, sometime even before 10 o'clock, our guideline is that when backyards are next to below residential, we said we don't approve backyards. So the guideline is 10 o'clock, but it's 10 o'clock for the outside space, which was generally the sidewalk cafe. For the backyard, the guideline is different. And it is different just because we have had so many problems with it, just not because we want to aggravate people, right? It's just because we can't.
I'm a little confused. You're saying the guideline, no.
Yeah, there is a rear yard guideline on our website.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but the guideline doesn't say that no backyards will be approved, does it?
It says that we will very exceptionally approve a backyard, but generally not when it is below residential windows.
Okay.
So if you read that, it's not, you know, never, but it's like we really prefer not to, because we know it's going to be trouble. So in a lot of situations, what we have done is approve backyard, but ask people to cover them and to enclose them so that there is no impact to the other people. So we have had those discussions on and on. It's not against you or the applicant Shalva, it's just to tell you, this is what we have gone through and this is our experience. And that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to pile on at this point, but that's what I was concerned about. I mean, there's a capacity, I think that's indicated here of 100, and there was reference to music. I believe I've been in that old space and I remember it being sort of quiet. But in your application, there's a question, will applicant provide effective sound control, landscaping enclosure, soundproofing of tenants' apartments, whatever? And you say yes. And I assume when you said yes, you'll provide effective sound control, you were referring to the outdoor space because that's what it's under. Has there been any discussion? I mean, why did you say yes to that? Have you already looked into sound control in the backyard?
Yeah, we've had discussions already with a sound engineer, and that's why we said yes. And though we don't have a report to provide you from the sound engineer, we were told that minimal noise is produced from both inside and outside. That's the reason we said yes. Aside from that, just the sound control would be closing doors and windows and having all music be inside, and just general mechanisms of control for the noise outside.
So there was no further discussion as to other than to close the window and close the door? The sound engineer didn't give any other advice?
No, I mean, it wasn't a full acoustic report. It was just a discussion with a sound engineer.
That might be warranted though, in this case, getting a full acoustical report. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, I come from a different place. I'm a proponent of outdoor spaces in the backyard. People go to these places specifically for them. And if they're handled properly and all that, and people respond to noise complaints quickly, I don't see a problem with it. If you live in the city, you've got to expect a bit of noise. You know, that's the whole deal, right? We're not living in Westchester. So
when a verge is on real life.
What's that?
Hold on one second.
So
Yeah,
look, what I'm suggesting is, we don't interfere with this plan, and if there's a problem, then we ask that it be fixed. Okay. If the place has been running with an outdoor, with a backyard, let's continue it. Why stop it because we've got a new operator, right?
Yeah, except Mike, I'd be a lot more comfortable if they met with the very active block association.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. I agree with you. And that's, precondition to the full board meeting. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate those comments. I just want to say that we're, of course, amenable to meeting with Steve and any other block associations, so long as the conversation is in good faith and is productive. If the conversation will just simply be outdoor space, then
that's not appropriate.
Yeah, Phil, that's not, particularly having just heard from the prior applicant. I don't think that's a fair comment.
No, I'm not at all insinuating that Steve would ever give or have a bad faith conversation.
That sounds like that.
My point was that if anyone who wants to meet, whether that's Steve or a tenant or anyone in between, simply just wants to not have outdoor space, then that is not what we're applying for. So, we're of course open to hearing suggestions, but I would like to push through this now if Steve can simply say that his recommendation would be to not have outdoor space.
I do not think that is Steve's recommendation.
Okay, then
but the issue is
meeting with the block association. You need to go in and not determine that this is an area that we can talk about and this is an area we can't talk about. You have a conversation, and whatever comes up, whatever emerges in the conversation is the agenda. There's no pre-agenda beforehand. The only item on the agenda is your application to be in the neighborhood within the community. Okay, I have Ted and then Kerry.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, how many people were you planning on putting outside in the back? Because I'm kind of actually in favor for the outdoor with limited hours. I get the importance of going to these block association meetings, but as much as they do have outreach, these people are also aware that there is a community board meeting tonight. And I'm hoping to hear what we have coming through tonight from the community to see if we have anybody against. So I'd like to reserve that, but I would be, more inclined to vote in favor if it has limited seating, and if you were to go reach out to Steve again before the full board meeting, maybe we can do something. We can, the community board can vote on something of those lines with the, contingency that he meets with Steve.
Ted, the form says 8 tables and 16 seats. And as I understand it, they've agreed to close at 10 p.m. every night?
Correct.
Okay.
On both fronts, yep.
And I just want to bring out,
hold on.
I also want to bring out to the committee's attention, you probably all realize, but I want to articulate it, that yes, we know that there was a prior occupant and they used the space in the backyard, but we don't really have any record of how they used the space, how often they used the space, how many tables we only have hearsay because they go back way before we had any stipulations, we had any of these forms. So we don't have anything on record. Exactly what they had agreed. Because maybe they just didn't have to agree to anything back in prehistoric time. Okay, Carrie?
I have a couple of quick questions. You circled live music on your application. So could you speak to that? Because, that always feels a little bit more like the potential for noise issues.
Sure, yeah. The live music would just be once a week, and it is indoors only, and it would be a solo musician, typically jazz music, just quiet jazz inside. and all music would be concluded by 10 p.m.
Okay, so just to make that concrete, because I saw that was in the petition that the upstairs people signed. So you'd agree to a stip that says all live music will be indoors only, cease no later than 10 p.m. nightly, and be limited to one instrument?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if you answered this already, but are you unwilling to table this till next month after you've met with the block associations?
I'm not unwilling, no. I obviously, ideally would like to finish this tonight, but if it's going to come to that, where you guys all feel that meeting with the block association would be the correct move, then yes, we'll certainly do it.
Great. And my last question is that would make me feel a lot better, personally. My last question is to my fellow board members. Did we not have an application recently where we asked that the hours for the backyard, which honestly in a year now I've only seen one approved, was 9 o'clock?
Yeah, that was, I think last month. It was a small one next to a big operating Medi wine bar, which had a much bigger backyard, and this new operator wanted to use a previously used space. And yes, they did agree to close at 9.
So that's just something else to maybe keep in mind, that, the more everybody's a little bit more willing to realize that space itself is like an echo chamber, and take care of the possible residents that are facing it in all 4 directions, then, I think the more willing the board is to consider those backyard applications.
Well, if it would keep from having to push until next month, we would be willing to agree to 9 p.m. during the week.
Sorry, guys, you'll have to remind me, is that on the weekends as well?
What I just suggested would be 9 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday, and then weekends would be 10.
The applicant you are remembering, though, from last month agreed to 9 p.m. every night.
Thank you for reminding me.
We still should listen to the community, right? Before we discuss that.
We still need to finish the committee. If there's anybody else on the committee that has a comment, question? Okay, I see shaking heads, no.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go ahead, Mike.
This place has had an outdoor backyard for, a couple of decades, I guess, right? When the notice went up that a new place is opening that would indeed have a backyard, why is nobody here to complain about it?
We have at least 2 people from the public.
Okay. No, I know that. Okay, that's what I'm getting to. I know there is at least one person I see. So let's hear from them. Okay, let's hear what their specific complaints are.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, one person is one person. So let's hear it.
Well, okay. We'll say this again. Is there anybody else from the committee that wants to say anything? If not, I'd like to open up to members of the committee. Going once, twice, okay, 3 times. Nellie, want to bring anybody in?
Yes, Sophia and Steve Polita.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? Am I on?
Yes.
Great.
You really are Sophia.
Yes, I'm
somebody else who had your name, but it wasn't you.
Yes, that was Jeremy, my roommate. So I'm Sophia. It's great to be here. I'm a resident of 747th 9th Ave. And I'm speaking up because the establishment hasn't even opened yet. And the noise has deeply negatively impacted the quality of life of both myself and my roommates. And I think the patio would definitely be disturbing, but it's also the interior of the building that has been the main source of disruption currently. My bedroom doesn't even face the patio, and voices, music, construction, and movement have all permeated up through the floor and made both working and sleeping challenging. So given that we're deeply concerned about the opening of the establishment and the prospect of large numbers of people, live music, late hours, alcohol, and the noise coming from both inside and outside. Yeah, I live in cities my whole life. I grew up in Boston, went to college in a city, totally open to city living and the noises that come with it, but really incessant noise coming up through the floor has made our lives very difficult, and wanted to voice that before the committee. And I think my roommates would also be happy to voice that as well.
Sophia, can you tell us what floor you live on? Do you live immediately above it, or
We live on the second floor. So yes, above it.
so directly above?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we have recordings of the noise that we'd also be happy to share with the committee if it's at all helpful.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
Okay. One thing is when they keep saying, well, we want to talk to Steve, we want to hear what Steve has to say, what if he agree. I run our block association. I listen to everybody that talks to me about this. I'm not a dictator. I'm not the person that you pay off to approve everything. And that's what it sounds like. I listen to everybody in the community. They don't hear about all these meetings except through me. So I tell them that they're going to open up a restaurant at where formerly Nick's was. They're going to have an outdoor space. And people say, well, when are they going to come talk to us? And I say, they're not. They want to go directly to the BLP committee. And they say, well, we have problems with this. So they're not here tonight because they don't know about this unless I tell them about this. Not everybody's familiar with the CB4 BLP meetings. That's why I asked you all to come to our meeting to talk to people about this outdoor space. As Frank said, or as Christine said, knives, clicking, plates, everything going on affects people living there. Some people have to get up at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning to go to work. And with that noise going on at night, why don't you close it, say we'll close at 8 o'clock at night. You don't know this because you don't come to the meeting. That's why we need to talk to you. I'm not saying this person isn't going to be a good applicant, good neighborhood, good for the neighborhood there. But unless you talk to the community, you don't know. And you just assume that, well, it was there before. We just spoke with the people that are going to open up where Posh was. Posh was a huge problem. You can't say, and I'm sorry, I'm directing this at you. You can't say, well, they had the outdoor space and they were out in the street every day. We're only going to do the same thing. That was a problem. That's why you need to hear from the community. We're not here to stop you or stop you opening up. I'm sorry.
I completely hear you and I agree with you. And we don't mean any hostility by having not met with you. But I just want to address your points twofold.
Wait, Phil.
No, don't.
You haven't been to our live meeting, so we don't like crosstalk like this. Let Steve finish and we'll let you respond.
So we just want people to be able to explain to you what the issues will be for them, how it's going to impact their lives. We don't even know that you're applying for the outdoor shed. That affects people that live above, as the young lady that spoke before me, the noise that comes out that goes straight up there, noise travels straight up. Shalva has been very good about responding back and forth to me, but I can't just answer for the community. That's not my job. My job is to listen to the community and see what they have to say. So until you approach the community and talk to them, I don't speak for them. I refuse to speak for them. They have their own input and I want to hear it. And like I said, Shalva, you may be a great applicant, a great benefit to our neighborhood. I can't speak for our neighborhood. It'll all come back to me. It'll all come back to the BLP. I need these questions answered that the neighborhood might have. And unfortunately, I can't answer them right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Just quickly,
I just want to say we don't really want to support conversation back and forth and continue, because this kind of a conversation needs to take place not at the community board, but at the block association meeting.
We tried to meet with Steve. It's unfortunate that the block association meets once a month on the 17th. We've been as flexible as we possibly could. We reached out weeks before the meeting to try to meet with the block association, and I think it would be putting form over substance to say, because the block association's meeting happened in the middle of the month before we even received our invitation to the meeting, that we would have to push back an additional month.
Phil, as I put in my email to your client, you sort of know the way CB4 works. If we have a meeting on November 12th and you get your materials in, 10 days before, you will be on the agenda. And so you presumably knew well before the October 21st or whatever, 50, Steve Bolita's meeting date, you knew you were going to be here in November. You didn't have to wait to get an invitation from us to know you were going to be on this agenda. If you got your materials in, you're going to be on the agenda.
But I agree with you. And of course, we've been before you so many times that we know how it works. But our procedure is we enter our 30-day notice and we receive the invitation. And in the invitation from Nellie comes the list of block associations to reach out to, and we reach out.
Okay, all right. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this.
Can I do one more quick point?
Okay, sure. Yep.
Steve mentioned the fact that the residents don't know that the meeting is happening because they aren't familiar with the BLP schedule. That's why we put the notice on the door, and the notice has been on the door for over 3 weeks now. So if these residents don't know the meeting is happening, that means they're probably not walking past our premises or whatever it might be. So it seems hard to believe that those would be the people most impacted if they're not even walking by the establishment. And that is the reason.
Except as the point we all keep making about rear yards, the people affected could be halfway down the block on 50th Street and not necessarily walk by, the front door of this establishment. I don't walk around the entire block. If someone opened a rear yard in my block, it would bother me. I don't walk around the whole block every week to see if anyone's applying for a liquor license.
Okay, Frank, we have 2 more committee people, Rob and Christine.
Yeah, let me just, Christine, if I could, having heard about the problems indoors now too, I think you really got to meet with more of these people. I mean, you may need to do an acoustical report inside. I mean, that sounded like serious indoor problems, which is even separate from the whole rear yard we're talking about. I think some serious outreach may be in order and to have you put it off a month. But again, that's
Is there any way we can work with the suggestion from Theodore, who said from now until the full board meeting, we can meet with Steve or the block association?
I'd like to hear from Rob and Christine. Both of you have your hands raised. Rob?
Yeah, hey, just real quick, right out back, I'm not sure if anyone took a look satellite view, but right behind them, there's a smaller apartment building behind a regular apartment building that is just literally right butt up against it. And there's got to be at least 8 apartments in that small building, not including the regular, courtyard that they have around other buildings. So, if I could ask a question of the woman who spoke, who lived above it, I would like to know, if you've been living there for a while, how long and what were the hours? What do you remember the hours of out back were, or did they not have it open? If I could just get her to answer that question for me, I'd appreciate it.
She's going to have to get moved back in. So why don't we hear from Christine? And Nellie, if you could move Sophia back into the meeting, that would be great.
Christine?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. But based on what I've heard, Sophia is there. So let's go with Sophia first.
Hi, hello everyone. I actually haven't lived in the building when whatever was previously there was operating. So I apologize, but I can't speak to the prior hours of the outdoor space. I
Well,
would,
when did you move in? When has it not been operating?
I moved in August.
Oh, that's too recent, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would like to reinforce that the severity of the noise is from the inside. That's what we've experienced so far, not just the outside. It's the floor shaking.
Okay. Thanks.
So
They did a engineering sound test. Would you let them in your apartment to conduct that?
Yes, absolutely. They can come anytime. We'd be happy to have them.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so it seems to me that we need a serious sound study and a commitment to, you know, address that and to do it right away. And then second, I would recommend that we table until obviously the neighbors and the proper, you know, discussion has taken place with the with the block association.
Is that a motion, Christine?
Yes.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion in front of us with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Present, not eligible, and abstaining.
Okay. So Phil, obviously, you know, you see where this is going. I mean, will you agree to come back next month and not file at in the interim?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And could we have, I'd like to put Sophia in contact with either you or your client right away in case there are, you know, immediate things that could be fixed to make their lives a little. I'm going to give her, should we give her your contact information or your clients?
Yeah, Frank, you have my email and my phone number, or Nellie, you do. Feel free to pass that along to
Okay.
Sophia.
All right, Sophia, could you contact Nellie Gonzalez at your convenience at the CB4 office, and she will give you Phil's contact information, and you can reach out to him directly about sort of concerns that maybe we can make less severe before the block association meeting.
Hey, Frank, real quick, one more thing. Could they let the people on 51st Street also know? Because that really small apartment building that butts up, it's in the backyard, it butts up against their fence, is actually on 51st Street. And I don't think they would have seen any of this.
Well, but that's why Steve is going to take care of that.
Right. If Steve can coordinate.
Steve is going to, you know, get everybody. And in the meantime, Phil and his, you know, is going to get that sound study and you know, before the work is done, right?
We can't agree to committing to a sound study right now. We'll agree to meeting with Steve, of course.
Well, and to hear, you know, that's why I would definitely talk to Sophia and, you know, her roommates and see what the noise problems are.
Right.
And, you know, I agree. It's sort of in a vacuum now, but if it turns out that she's going to continue to push for, you know, that the operations are going to bother her, then, you know, that's something you should hear and decide what you're going to do. But
absolutely,
if the upstairs residents continue to have concerns and you're not doing a sound study,
well, of course, we
so
just want to hear everyone's concerns before.
Yeah, just try to work things out with her, and whether that leads to a.
But the only point I was making is that, you know, if you are doing the work and the construction right now, this is certainly the right time to include the sound isolation. So if you finish the work and then you do a sound study, and then everybody says, well, you have to break up everything and put it back in the walls, you know, it may not make a lot of sense for you.
Understood.
Okay.
So
I can't see voting yes for this without a sound study, but that's just me. I don't know how others feel.
No, yeah, exactly. I think every month, next month, everybody is going to ask about that.
Well, unless they work things out, you know, it's possible that, you know, this is very loud construction noise that is on a level that would be different from operations. But that's why I think they just need to talk. But I agree, if upstairs residents are still saying they're gonna be bothered, then I think we do need to, you know, I think we will be
Yeah.
looking for sound study.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Number 8.
Reach out and we'll see you guys next month.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Phil, Nelly will send you the usual postponement form tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Good night. Last item on our agenda is number 8, 644 10th Avenue. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for taking time to speak with us today. Nice to see some of you. I met you before when we were going through this for Holdfast for our initial application, and then again when we extended our hours to a 4 a.m. license. So thank you for taking the time today. We are seeking to open a location in the former Diane Elizabeth space. Our hours we're looking for is 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday to Sunday. The first portion of our day, we're looking to have a cafe, coffee shop, then to lunch, dinner, and then a late night kitchen, which we've seen has been very popular at Holdfast. We had applied for we had put in there for both sidewalk seating and as well as a rear yard. But after hearing from Frank and having walked through, as well as James Colby from the Piano Factory, we'd like to withdraw the rear yard portion of our application until we can create a mutually agreeable scenario, whether that's a pergola, just, have our acoustical engineer also work in addition to that. Those are the things that we've been looking. Again, my name is Jason Clark. I'm one of the operating partners of Holdfast. I'd like to introduce Brian Daly.
How you doing?
Brian works with us at Holdfast as a manager, formerly ran Deacon Brody's for many years, also on 46th Street and Restaurant Row. We're active members of the community, and we're just looking to move forward and provide a nice, wonderful space for all of us.
Just a few observations, because I actually did a live site visit since it was around the corner for me. As these gentlemen said, Holdfast, as some committee members may remember, or others may not have been here, they're a place on Restaurant Row. And when they sought to expand their hours, we got a letter from someone who lived upstairs who said they were very concerned when Holdfast was opening, but they had been sort of perfect, considerate neighbors, and they were now happy to support them for longer hours. So I think we have some precedent for these gentlemen being good operators in the neighborhood. The rear yard, as I told them, is problematic. It abuts the Piano Factory, which is a big residential condo. There are other buildings around it. And I think what the applicant has realized, I know he traded some emails with the chairman of the board of the Piano Factory, that there has to be some dialogue and probably some operating history with this applicant before they're going to get anywhere in the rear yard. So they've spared us an hour of discussion, agreeing not to use it, because we already had 4 emails of people concerned about the rear yard.
Yeah, and we understand their concerns. I live on 47th, and I am privileged enough to have access to a rear yard for my apartment, and I understand how precious that quiet can be. And it was never our intention to just open up and operate at whatever decibel. At Holdfast, even for our interior, and what we're seeking to do at the Farrier is to have decibel levels between 40 and 50, which is, as you guys know, like whisper conversation levels for transmission. We were going to seek to do that in the rear yard as well. But again, we didn't have the opportunity because of the signing of our lease and the proximity of the BLP committee meeting to properly reach out. And we realized that on our end. So we'd like to scale that back, go about it properly, find out what the concerns are, and then move forward somewhere down the road, as you had said, when we have established ourselves as operators.
And just to that end, for outreach on our end, we are going to have a Zoom meeting with the Piano Factory board tomorrow night. So we're trying our best to reach out to everybody around us and our neighbors in the building, and hopefully build a good relationship going forward anyway.
Okay, and will you agree to a stipulation that says you won't use the rear yard for any purpose, including staff and you'll keep the door closed to the rear yard. Because some of the emails I was getting were, even if you open the door, even if no one goes out there, the noise immediately pours out of the back door. So will you be using the rear yard during this period?
It looks like they had previously used it for garbage storage, and that may have been some of the ambient noise. We're planning on relocating that to the basement, so there shouldn't be no issue. I mean, we may open it during the day, just make sure that it's clean, nothing's happened, but we're not planning on opening it for any daily use, no. So yes, we will agree.
Well, I don't want to box you in on dealing. I mean, can we just say you won't use it? You won't use it. You'll keep the door closed after, like, I don't know, 6 p.m. or something, and it won't be used by staff on any kind of regular basis.
Yeah, I think we have no problem.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Yeah.
I got a second done. Frank, are you done?
I am.
Okay. I had a question, guys, about the hours. I know the previous occupant was generally midnight and 1 a.m. on the weekend.
Understood.
Like 2 a.m. 7 days a week. Could you say something about your need for that? Or why?
Yes. I think especially, I know we talked about people that get up early for work, but there are still some people that work late into the evening. So that some of these other establishments that are in the neighborhood, some, coming off a shift from a hospital, whatever. What we've seen at Holdfast, we have our kitchen open until 2 a.m. every day, regardless of what happens. That's one reason we push back to a 4 a.m. so that we could give time for people to eat. We're looking to do the same thing here as far as having a full kitchen open until 2 a.m. So that's the stipulation why we are looking to go a little bit longer. We've seen that there's been a real need for it, especially with like diners are closing earlier. West right. We have a line at Holdfast right now. People were waiting for 30, 40 minutes at 11 midnight, just waiting to dine. So we're hoping that this will also help give people that outlet where they might not have to walk that avenue.
Thank you. Committee members, questions, comments? No hands raised?
Gary.
Just real quick question. Thank you about the rear yard. I'm sure we all appreciate that. Does that mean that you'll be asking for a sidewalk cafe?
Yes, I thought I had mentioned that yes, we'd still like to pursue the sidewalk cafe under open restaurants.
Okay, so sidewalk cafe and street open restaurant?
Yes, please. I think that's how we had written into our application.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Previously, Diane and Elizabeth had 2 tables underneath their awnings that they extended. We agree that we'd close the 10, I think is Sunday to Thursday, and then 11 on Friday and Saturday.
Did you succeed in making contact with anyone in your building?
Only the people that we've had the pleasure of meeting, going in and out as we've been just kind of surveying the property.
Yeah, tonight we just gained access to the building today to post notice. So we will be posting emails and phone numbers in the hallway near the mailboxes for the tenants to reach out to us, or at least get a dialogue started on that.
Okay. And obviously,
emails.
Yeah, and obviously post the full board notice, as soon as you get it. So they know this is going to be before the full board.
Yes, and in addition to posting on both doors of the entrance, we posted on all the corner street posts to make sure that we had as much visibility for today's meeting as well.
Wait.
Peggy's hand is hard to see. Her hand was up first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Peggy at all. Where?
Okay, thanks, Tweet. It's hard for me to see from the application, but is the 200-foot rule, is that applicable here?
I would think no. There's no.
Yeah.
For it to be the church or school would have to be on 10th Avenue, and I'm pretty certain there's nothing on 10th Avenue within 200 feet of this location. Plus, it's been previously licensed, so that's a good sign that the rule doesn't apply.
Are you waiting for me? I'm sorry.
No.
Right.
Okay.
Was that it? Was that it, Peggy?
Yep. I don't know, on the application, it kind of looks like it's marked as yes, so I don't know if that needs to be met. But again, it could just be the photocopier that I see.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point. I can't
hard to
quite
read.
tell how it's
It
answered.
is hard to
Let us pull that up. Go there.
Okay, in the meantime, Twee?
Yeah, just curious what type of fare, what type of food is this? Normally there's like a menu or something, and I had to look up farrier and it doesn't help because it doesn't mean
yeah.
anything having to do with food.
Yeah, it's actually the farriers. The name is actually a little nod to the space because it has a horseshoe shape.
Okay.
The farrier is a blacksmith that shoes horses. So that with the carriage rides and the horse, the stables that are here in the neighborhood, it's kind of like a little nod there. Similar to Holdfast, not an exact fare, but more like shareable plates. This is for dinner and then leading into the evening, what they call small plates, formerly known as tapas, till we left the Spanish behind and moved on to the rest. During the day, though, we were looking to do like pastries, small sandwiches, a full coffee menu as well. So there's going to be several ones. We included a dinner menu. I'm not sure if our attorney failed to put that in the packet, but that was a sample menu that we worked with our current chef that we were working with. Okay. And I can provide you, I can resend if you'd like.
I mean, I guess it would be sent to Nelly because it wasn't part of the package that we received.
Oh, my apologies.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Nelly, do we have anybody from the community?
Yes, we do. Eric.
Oh, hi everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for withdrawing the rear yard application. As it stands, I don't really have any personal problems with the application as it stands now, with the rear yard withdrawn with the doors closed. So, thank you very much for that. I was looking through the application. I just had a couple of maybe questions or comments which might be helpful to you going forward. Sure. One, when you do apply for the rear yard, the photos you took of the rear yard were pretty deceptive. You didn't look up at all to show that it was exposed to the whole area. So you might want to use representative photos, and per the MCB4 guidelines, use a floor plan which shows the relationship to the nearby buildings. Okay. And kind of on a related note, it's not just the piano factory that's exposed to that backyard. And I did see that with respects to your community outreach, you said something like all block associations have been contacted, but you didn't leave any contact information. You didn't show who was contacted when. So I'm kind of just a little curious on who you contacted, because they're all going to need a way in, because there's other buildings where the noise is just going to bounce around repeatedly, besides just the piano factory for that space. And
Eric, where do you live?
I'm in the piano factory.
Okay.
But I'm concerned, and I found out about it, but I'm concerned about other people.
Yeah, when I met with these guys earlier this week, I told them to make sure at least that they had reached out to the 44th, 45th, and 46th Street block associations.
Yeah, no, it'd be good to see that reflected in the application, because it wasn't listed. Just that everybody was contacted, and it seems sketch.
Okay.
Sure. Eric, and once we submit our application, we received a list of all the block association emails and contact information. Our lawyer at that point sent an email to notify everyone of our application. Again, unfortunately for us, we realized that our signing of the lease and the VLP, we pushed a little fast in there. We didn't get to reach out, so that's why we're kind of working a little backwards, which is, not the way that we ever like to work, but fortunately, see if anyone has any information or concerns or would like us to speak to a meeting, we'd be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of expressing it as suggestions for when you do, if you do apply for the rear yard.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Okay.
Did you figure out what was your answer to the 200-foot rule? No. Did you check?
200 foot.
It is no, I mean, there's no,
No, I
But
I just want to make
clear
sure.
on the application.
Yeah, it just looks a little weird on the form. That's why I asked. You're on mute now, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if that was us or I apologize there. Spectrum strikes again.
But the answer is supposed to be no to the 200-foot rule, right?
Yeah, do you know what section that's in, Frank?
Yeah, it's first page, second question from the bottom.
There's some school.
Yeah, that should be no.
Okay.
I don't even see it. It doesn't look like it's checked off on our, that's an error on our part.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a resolution?
Wait one sec. So
let's get the summary, right?
So the changes are on page 1, we're going to say the 200-foot rule does not apply. And then we have, we will change pages 5 and 6 to make sure that they apply only to only to open restaurants, and make clear that the application doesn't extend to any rear yard. And then there'll be an additional stip that says rear yard will not be used by any personnel other than for incidental use and will not be used at all after 6 p.m. nightly. Door to rear yard will be kept closed after 6 p.m. nightly.
Yes, we agree to that.
Motion.
Thank you, Christina. Second?
Second.
We got 2 seconds. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Person not eligible? Abstaining?
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you in a few months.
Yeah, and if the committee could stay on for a
When we
couple
open, I mean.
minutes, just want to talk about the open restaurants and the stipulations. So some context. Prior to the pandemic, as you've seen on the STIP form, we had applicants answer very specific questions whenever they wanted to use any outdoor space. There was a page in the STIP form for sidewalk cafes and a page for rear yards. And to get a sidewalk cafe, they had to get a permit from the Department of Consumer Affairs. And that's the way we sort of always did things. When open restaurants came in, it was designed as an emergency program. No agency had to approve it in advance. No notice had to be given to community boards. All an operator had to do was file a form with the DOT, giving, sort of rudimentary floor plans, answering a few questions, and they could then operate as open restaurants. And part of what the city made clear was that they wanted this to be a level playing field, and therefore everyone was going to get the same closing hours. Everyone was going to be subject to the same rules. So at that time, we felt that not only did we have no leverage to negotiate with people about open restaurants, but it was sort of running contrary to the philosophy, which was let everyone operate on a level playing field. That changed, well, it's constantly changed, but there was a big change in July of this year, where the rules now are if you had not previously applied to open restaurants before July of 2021, you now had to give notice to the community board of your open restaurant application. So now that we are getting notice, the question is, how should we handle this? Do we want to look at it at all? Do we want to ask for any kind of stipulations? And if we do, what kind of stipulations would we want to ask for the people doing open restaurants? What Nellie put in the sent around today or put in the Dropbox was a fairly straightforward set of, I think, eight questions that Community Board 3 is using. And basically, if an applicant gives satisfactory answers to these 8 questions, then Community Board 3 is not requiring them to appear before their licensing committee, but will simply approve it as an administrative matter. And the questions, as you might have seen, is that they close all outdoor seating by 10, There's no music or amplified sound. They tell you how many tables and chairs they have. They say they'll have a staff person deal with crowd control out front, so there's no loitering and noise, and that they'll comply with all the DOT guidelines. So one approach would be to just do something similar to those lines. But we just want to discuss it. First of all, the threshold question, which is why Bert and Ellie and I wanted to bring it before the committee, is, are people okay with asking for stipulations from people with open restaurants? Or do we want to just sort of leave it that they can operate under whatever the city guidelines are at the relevant time?
Stipulations.
Okay.
I agree. I have my hand up because did Nellie send those 8 questions out separately? I didn't see it in the Dropbox.
No,
Nellie,
that was a separate email.
A separate email, not in the Dropbox.
All right, so I'll look for that. But I agree with Rob. If we have the ability to provide restrictions, we really should. Especially since the geography and the demography is different from CB to CB, I think.
right. Okay.
So these stipulations would not be necessarily part of the process that the city would be implementing. We don't know if we're going to be part of the regulatory process. This is, they do have to notify us. So by using that as leverage, we want to ask them these questions and they agree to it.
Bert, you have all kinds of hands up.
Yes, not all kinds of hands. They're all yellow. On my board, they're all yellow. So we can start, and I'm just going my screen. I don't know the timing on it. I have Mike, Terry, Tina, and I don't see everybody else on my screen, but
Valerie's mine.
now I see Christine. I see, so Mike.
Yeah,
Terry,
well, you know, I
Tina.
guess you know where I'm coming from, Humbert. No question on my position, huh? Both as a committee member and as thinking as a lawyer now, right? Why would anyone go beyond the 4 corners of the regulation that's going to be in place, you know, by the city, right?
Well, we have to do that now.
No, I know that.
Hold on, Frank.
Yeah, look, we are always, it appears to me, right, looking to be enforcers of something that we not necessarily have the authority to enforce, all right? We're imposing policies that look like rules, but they're policies, all right? Everybody else sees them as rules, but we know they're not rules, right? This is one of those things. It's going to look like a rule, and it's not a rule. They don't have to answer this thing, right? They just give us notice, and boom, that's the end of it. And we cannot ground our decision to not recommend this application based upon the fact that they simply didn't feel like filling out the form, right? If I came to the board, maybe I just don't want to tell you, all right? Because I think I'm doing everything right. And my lawyer's telling me, hey, you don't really have to sign this thing. So anyway, that's my position. I mean, the less we look like law enforcement personnel, the better, all right? And this is one place where that appears to be the case, all right? All right.
Thanks, Mike. And you know, I'm very much on the fence about this, which is why I wanted to discuss it at committee. But you know, with sidewalk cafes, for example, we historically have asked them to agree to more restrictive conditions than the city would allow. So it's sort of not unprecedented. But again, I'm, sort of on the fence about it.
Terry, Tina, Christine, and Rob.
Yeah, sorry. I have a terrible cold, so my head is very foggy. And you may have said this, but where do we stand right now with sidewalk cafes?
Sure. Starting when open restaurants came in, the DCA sidewalk cafe program was suspended, as were all sidewalk cafe licenses. The only way to use the sidewalks was through open restaurants. and the DCA has stopped considering sidewalk cafe licenses. We are currently in the middle of a 2-year, well, under the de Blasio regime, there was going to be a 2-year process of this year and next year to make open restaurants permanent. And what the de Blasio regime was seeking to do was to move everything, all outdoor roadway and sidewalk seating, under the aegis of the Department of Transportation. But what procedures they were going to do, what rules they were going to do were unknown. But for the remainder of this year and next year, it will only, and again, unless the new administration changes something, this year and next year will still just be the temporary open restaurants program, where while everyone tries to decide what is going to be the new permanent look of things.
And that's only for new applications. So if you have an existing sidewalk cafe, you may continue using it and apply for open restaurants? No.
When open restaurants came in, people were told you operate under open restaurants, not under your old sidewalk cafe permit. And part of the reason for that was, again, they wanted a level playing field. They wanted everyone to have, their own rules. So if, for example, your sidewalk cafe license was more restrictive than open restaurants, you were now going to be able to stay open later. If you could use more space under open restaurants than under your sidewalk cafe permit, you could use the more space.
So it doesn't really matter whether we're talking about on the sidewalk or in the street. It's all open restaurants.
It's all open restaurants.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Tina.
Hi there. When I read this today, I was trying to, what I'm talking about is what the questions that were sent. I really wanted to see the DOT guidelines that they constantly refer to, that it says were attached. And I've been traveling, so I don't know, maybe it's my phone, but I don't know what the DOT guidelines say. And that, I don't know. So I'm sort of still at a loss. I don't know what my opinion is. I did go on the NYC government website, and there was so many documents referring to open restaurants. I didn't know which one. Sorry.
So maybe, and they weren't attached to what we got from CB3. Nellie just sent around Oregon CB3, but Christine probably can enlighten us to exactly.
Well, there is like so many. I mean, I don't understand even, because, when they announced all of them, they were cumulative instead of being simplified and summarized in one place. So when you read the thing, I don't even know how a restaurant right now can figure what are the rules. It's very complicated. So so that's your point, and I can summarize if you want. I will send a document around to summarize that. Were you done, Tina?
No, but from what you say, we definitely can't use then. I mean,
no.
Than this, you know? Yeah.
We can't. Okay. We can't. I don't think we can. My view is that our role, as we were doing with Sidewalk Cafe and as we are doing with liquor license, is to educate people, to make sure they understand what the rules are saying, right? And in some cases, and we did that in Sidewalk Cafe, we went a little further because we felt that the guidelines were not enough to protect the community. So for example, on Sidewalk Cafe, we insisted on 8 feet sidewalk space measured from, a tree or a tree pit, because the rule was stupid, right? So I think that's our role, is to, and right now when you go on 9th Avenue, I can tell you that 50% of the spaces are illegal. They are not complying with the guideline. I think if they had come to us and we had told them, are you sure you are not going to use the striped area? Oh, okay. Then what we are doing is, by verifying and educating, we're educating people, and we are preventing what Mike says, there is enforcement. Our experience has been that enforcement doesn't work. And what works is better education and really having a contact and communication with the applicant. And to me, that's the role we are playing more, not enforcers, but educators. And I think that's the right role to play, to educate so that people install things which are compliant and nobody has a problem anymore, you know? When it's done properly the first time.
I agree with you.
Mike, we have other people.
I got
Mike,
it.
Mike.
I got you. Yes.
He agrees with me, let him talk.
No, he spoke already once, Mike, and then we'll get back. The first I want to hear from people who haven't yet, Rob and Peggy.
We're basically a grassroots organization built through our community, and our community's changed over the years, and we have a responsibility to the people that we represent because they're entrusting their quality of life on us. And they come and they speak their piece, and business owners speak their piece. But at the end of the day, we have to do what's right for our community. And when you see how Hell's Kitchen has changed so much over the years, and how a lot of people move there for that nightlife, but then again, a lot of people who've been there for years don't really appreciate that. So there's a really unique balance that is in our court that we have to figure this out. And I think that over the years, at least the few years that I've been coming to the community board, that there has been a slow change and a slow education for everyone of, hey, this is best standards. And I think we're getting there. And echoing what Christina said, it's just about educating, letting people know what is best served for the community and businesses alike. Thank you.
Peggy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I definitely agree with Christine and Rob. I'm definitely for us, maybe, you know, promoting stipulations. And again, I don't, you know, a lot of times agencies and the enforcers, if they don't go far enough, if there's something that we can do to help, narrow that gap to help, improve the community, I'm all for that. And I just wanted to throw out too that just regarding what I think CB3 had put out, some additional, I've been following this issue, and some additional areas of concern that have come up amongst neighborhoods that have been really impacted by the open restaurant seating program is like sidewalk space, as well as trash. So I would just mention that those are two other areas perhaps we could try and address. So that's it.
Mike?
Yeah, on that last point, Peggy, that's a great point. That's a good point. As far as Christine's thing, her statement is, I agree with you. This form can be a discussion document that turns into an educational experience, right? So you can't have them coming into an inquisition, right? With the threat that you're not going to get approved unless you do this or that or the other thing. We have to have a discussion around it, okay? And so I fully agree with that. Fully agree with it. And by the way, Christine, once you're on that congestion pricing board, we won't be seeing that much of you, will we?
What are you talking about?
You haven't heard all the people promoting you?
No.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Anyway, so that's my comment,
I would agree. Using this as an educational tool, I think, is really important. The accessibility, I think, is one of our biggest issues here. So I don't really see that I don't see it at all reflected in CB3's questions. I think for us, it most often comes up with the 8 feet of clearance. So for our version, I would say, let's think through that and I think obviously that's the sidewalk obstruction issue. And then this actually came up last night at the ACES committee as well, from like a street life perspective, with just the increase in rats that we are seeing in the city, which I'm sure we've all seen and read about. I think some of it is abandoned structures. So I don't know that that's something we would put into any kind of stipulations, but obviously, ideally, there's some issue, way of getting rid of these structures if a business moves out of that space. And then I don't know that these are creating more trash, But I think because more food is dropping outside. So again, don't know if we want to add this as a stipulation, but in the spirit of education, just an awareness around that increase in just additional food droppings on the sidewalk and the rats that follow.
Okay.
Rob?
Just a quick question and clarification. Hypothetically, 2 years from now, when the Department of Transportation is going to be handling the streeteries, is the outside cafe license, will that be coming back to the BLP to where we will be approving what goes on directly out front of their business? But as far as it goes for the outside eateries, the sheds, that'll be handled by the Department of Transportation. Is that correct?
It's all going to be one, and it's all going to be Department of Transportation.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
But at that point, we don't know yet, Frank, right? We don't know what is the SLA process.
Right.
Right? We don't know whether SLA is going to ask for a license, or it's going to become an adjunct to the license which is inside. We don't know that.
Yeah.
We also have to remember that we have a new mayor coming in.
Yes.
January.
Yes.
Who may completely, it's irrelevant to him, and whatever is going on will continue to go on. Or he may say, this is an important something that I want to get my foot into, and I want to get my 2 cents involved. And it may change.
Right. So let's focus on the next, 14 months. It sounds like we would like people who are only seeking these would be people with liquor licenses who are now seeking to use open restaurants for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like we would like them to fill out a form stating their intentions, and then I guess come before us, right? Like any other applicant. And again, as Christine says, we're not going to have any leverage if they already have a liquor license. So it would be educational. We just sort of want to know what they're doing. And if we don't like something they're doing, telling them why we think it's a bad idea, but we ultimately will not be able to force them to do anything.
We will educate them.
Well, what are you saying? But the SLA is asking them to come in front of us, no?
The SLA is asking us to know.
That's what you just said, Frank, right?
They are asking us to give us notice.
Notice.
No more.
Right.
There's nothing
All
more
that
said
they're
than that.
asking us.
I get it.
Give us notice.
I get it.
We're taking that notice and using that
Yes.
notice
Yes. Yes.
to communicate to them what we would like.
No, I think, yeah.
Okay. So I think we should have a separate form for open restaurants only. So it doesn't get, we don't get people filling out a 10-page form when most of it's irrelevant. So what do people think of that idea? They would fill out hopefully 1, maybe 2-page questionnaire about their open restaurants intentions, and then they'd appear before this committee briefly, at least until so many of the, unless it becomes so burdensome that we can't do it.
That sounds good.
Does the form that we currently have then just change from sidewalk cafe to open restaurant?
I think it's a good point, Carrie. I think a lot of it, which is in our sidewalk cafe, can be applicable to open restaurant.
Right.
And
it feels like we
need 1 or 2 more things to ask.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I envision 2 things happening. I envision our regular STIP form being redone, which we've been, Bert, Twee, and I have been working on for months. We'll eliminate the sidewalk cafe DCA thing. We'll have 1 page that'll just be about open restaurants, and there'll be a bunch of questions. And if you want a new liquor license, you'll come in and fill out the whole form, excuse me, including the open restaurants page. But if you already have a liquor license and just want to be in open restaurants, we'll ask you only to fill out the page that's about open restaurants. And otherwise, your STIP form will remain in effect.
Yeah.
So, but there's no requirement to come before the committee. CB3, as I understand it, is you fill out the form, and there's an option, I guess, to bring it before the committee or not. right?
Last we checked with CB4, which admittedly was 2 months ago, if they gave the answers CB3 wanted to the questions, they didn't come before the committee.
Right.
But,
So why can't we do that?
I guess that didn't seem consistent with this educational role that everyone
Right, exactly.
want us to have.
Well, maybe they don't need an education if they've already come up with what we want. That's the idea.
Well, Mike, what we have is that the problem we have with the DOT application is that it's the same thing. People just say yes, 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 and then they get it, right? So nobody is really checking that they are following the rules.
Okay.
So I think our role would be to preempt that and you know, tell them, are you sure? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then when they say yes, 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 then we go. But we need to do some education here. I think.
At what point are they able to actually erect this place?
What?
At what point can they actually have the sidewalk
build it up?
Yeah, I mean, you know.
I mean, that's a good question. I don't think there is.
No, I know. Is it they can do it before they meet us or after they meet us? I don't know.
Yeah, they could do that.
DOT approval.
Well, first of all, they can build the thing under open restaurants as soon as they do that filing with the DOT. We still have no control over the structure. The only thing the SLA is requiring is that we get notice if they want to get a liquor license for the structure. But the SLA doesn't build in any timing over, you know, when they're going to extend the license and so forth.
I think there are a lot of unanswered questions that only will be answered if we start implementing what we want to do. Because if we say, we get a notice and then we say, great, thanks for notifying us, and now come over to the next committee meeting, we'd like you to fill this out. And if everybody who notifies us says, no thank you, no thank you, and no thank you, then we know it's not working. But if half of them say yes, let's see how it goes.
That makes sense.
I think there's there's nothing wrong in going ahead with this, because this is what we would like to do. And then let's see what kind of reaction we get from people who want outdoor seating, outdoor eating.
Okay. All right. So
All right.
first, you want us to send you some questions to go on that form?
Yeah, and Tui and Bert, do you want to continue to work on this together as we get suggestions? Okay.
I know tonight Wendy had a suggestion about access.
Yeah, I wrote some down. I wrote down accessibility, particularly the 8-foot clear path, whether we want something about abandoned structures, the issue about trash and rats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll send you.
Anything else, just put in an email to Bert and me.
Okay.
We'll come up with something better than Community Board 3 has.
Maybe you want to put something in there about security when it's not being used, like a gate or something, because a lot of people are using them and creating homes and homeless, and people are shooting up drugs in them during the time, or they're urinating or using them as toilets. So some types of security on the outside would be very good.
No, I've noticed this week
One of those on
alone-
7th Avenue.
I've noticed
and
this
22nd.
Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, forgive me. Yeah, there's a restaurant on literally, it's an old Italian place. They closed down. They own the residential above it, but they've got one of those extensions on the front, and homeless people use it. They use it as a toilet and all kinds of stuff. And the restaurant's not even open, and it's been sitting empty forever, but it's a huge eyesore. Once they made them clean it up, but now it's getting bad again. And it's just one of many. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. My apologies.
By the way, you can all use 311 to report those things, right? That goes definitely to DOT, and I've had success into getting DOT to come and inspect.
Oh, for it, Carrie.
Okay.
I was gonna say that, I know, well, we had, I'm on 21st and 8th, so we had a car accident into Raoul's flower shop / bar / cafe.
Oh.
But so it made me sort of take a little bit more notice on how they're different from each other. And some of them actually have gates or doors, and that seems to really be effective into, what you were saying, Ted, to stop that kind of loitering or whatever else might be happening in there when it's just open. Some of them actually close. So maybe that's something we want to think about as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve, to adjourn.
I approve to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you
Oh,
too.
yeah, happy holidays coming up. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Y'all.